rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. And no, I didn't forget about that. I didn't forget my own name. I was just adjusting the sound that's coming through the monitors in my ears. I've got a couple fans running because, hey, we're experiencing climate change. No, it's supposed to be almost, well, they're saying they're expecting record-breaking heat up here. So we'll see what that is. Honestly, for most of you that are in Florida and Texas and stuff like that, you'd be laughing at it. But there you go. So Coco insert name here has her emojis back. All right. So, first things first, for those of you who are on Rumble, you already know this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. The long time, I don't know if he's like the first Whiskey Warrior, but he definitely is one of the oldest for sure. He's in that group. He is unfortunately a little under the weather, and he has asked for us to pray for him. So if you would please take a moment, I'm going to take a moment right now to send him a prayer. And if you don't mind bowing your heads and joining in with me on this prayer. Heavenly Father, please be with Buddy during his time of illness. And we all pray, all the Whiskey Warriors here, as well as any other guests, we all pray that he recovers quickly and returns to his Whiskey Warrior P1 family. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Oh, Bonnie is saying that, yes, he was the first. So, all right, let's go ahead and get things kicked. And, of course, you cannot cross Bonnie. I'm just saying, you cannot cross Bonnie. Bonnie is one of those types of women that when she wakes up in the morning and her feet hit the floor, Satan looks up and goes, oh, shit, she's awake. So anyway, yeah, we hope that Buddy comes back. We soon hope he gets better soon. So, anyway, so, and no, I did not discuss that with Fat Paws, Bonnie's husband. It's just known, Bonnie. That's it. All right, let's move on. So let me go ahead and get, let's go ahead and get things kicked off here. First off, I got distracted there for a second. First off, we have Nana of JJS up tonight. Now, it's kind of interesting. Both Nana and Bonnie got together last week, and I just noticed that Nana and Bonnie are next to one another when it comes to the Pledge of Allegiance. So maybe it was a match made in heaven. Anyway, all right, folks, let's go ahead and go with the pledge. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me, place your hand over your heart and follow along with Nana of JJS as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and of course, I thank you, Nana, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting the pledge or performing the pledge, however you want to consider it, in your style, and then take that audio file or video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email address. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. Also, don't forget, it's American Pride Month, This is day 5. So get out and on your socials and post your pictures of your American flags, the U.S. flags, not the bastardized versions that some have been attempting to irk me with in terms of the rainbow-colored U.S. flags. That is not a U.S. flag. By definition, by legal definition, it must be red, white, and blue in a specific pattern and origin in order for it to be considered a United States flag. So show all your United States flags when you get the chance. All right, so tonight's headline sponsor, I haven't talked about this in a great while. And yes, Bonnie, I still owe you something on this, but I am currently wearing the American Perspective. Let me move the mic out of the way. The American Perspective flag shirt, logoed shirt. This one is in a kind of a heathered gray. And so, well, basically, if you could head off to store, store.americanperspective.online. Gee, there's a pattern there. Store.americanperspective.online. You can pick your version up. And then I've got a few of them. I've got a couple of different logo variations and things of that nature. But I'm wearing my own shirt for tonight. So head off to store.americanperspective.online and you can pick yours up today. I've got it in gray, I've got it in white, and I've got it in black. There are different logo colors that kind of go along with those because, I mean, let's face it, some of them get washed out because of the red, white, and blue. So depending upon, especially in terms of the white. So I've got a couple of different variations that you can go and take a look and check it all out. But you do that at store.americanperspective.online. You'll also find links for things like the U.S. Constitution that I discuss all the time, the leather-bound one. There it is. And you can go and check those out. I also still have links up, folks. There are still links up to go to the Old Whiskey Musings store. So if you want to get Whiskey Musings gear, because I know there's a bunch of people who are in a special group on Facebook. If you still want to get Whiskey Musings gear, it's still there as far as I'm aware. I haven't checked it in a while, but it's still there as far as I'm aware, so you can go and take a look at those. But go to store.americanperspective.online and you can check it out and see what I have available in my store. And, of course, I appreciate everyone who supports the show, because that's how we roll around here. All right, first things first, you know, the one thing that the left seems to keep trying to use, the one thing that the left seems to try and use to get everybody's goat is they keep saying things like, hey, Trump's approval rating is tanking. Trump's approval rating is going down. Trump's approval rating is worse than whoever. X, you know, whatever X you want to put in there, whether it's Obama, Biden, who cares? Well, there's only one thing. They're lying. They're lying because it's not going down. It's actually going up. And in fact, in Breitbart, oops, get rid of that. In Breitbart today, here it is, headline, media fail. Trump tops Obama's job approval rating. Yes, folks, you want to get that goat of that leftist moron that is, I don't know, maybe your in-laws or brother, sister, son, daughter, whatever. And especially if they just absolutely fawn over Obama, one of the most divisive presidents, I think, in American history, definitely in modern American history. But anyway, more voters, according to the piece here, more voters approve of the job President Trump is doing than approved of the job former President Obama was doing on this exact same day during Obama's second term. So this is about as true of an apples to apples comparison as you can possibly get. On this same day, during Obama's second term, So in this case, it's June 4th, because that was when this was put out. June 4th of 2013, Obama's average job approval rating was 47.1%. 47.1%. Now, exactly 12 years later, to the day, during Trump's second term, Donald Trump enjoys an average approval rating of 47.5%. Yeah, 47.5%. Now, what's even more interesting is that Trump is also scoring better than George Bush did. George W. Bush, that would be George II. During his second term on June 4th of 2005, it was 45.9% for Bush compared to 47.5% for Trump. Yeah. So there you go. Trump is beating out both Obama and George W. Bush right now for this day in the past history for the second term. Now, they can't compare it to Biden, of course, because if you compare it to Biden, Biden was only a one-term president. Well, I mean, he only occupied the office for one term. We are not sure who was president during his 4 years yet. Anyway, the point being here is that people aren't listening to the mainstream media anymore. They're not listening to any of those people. They're not listening to the the news. So the news basically at the time, especially during Obama's term, they were like a love fest. They still have a love fest for Obama. They still do. I mean, if Obama shows up somewhere, man, those lefties, they just, I don't want to sound really graphic on the show here, but they get really excited. Let's just say. So anyway, the fake media, of course, treated Barry like a rock star and not a politician. And on the flip side, those same media are treating Trump like a, criminal. They're calling him a rapist, even though he isn't a rapist. All these different things. And normal people they're just not listening. They're just not listening. The mainstream media has lost its grip on the majority of the American people. So, so there you go. And, again, for those of you who may not remember, but Obama was like this, again, he was just like, he was this great thing. When all he actually was a community organizer that got groomed, literally, to fill the spot. So, there you go. But anyway, so Trump is beating Obama. That's just amazing. So, again, folks, I mean, I actually got into a back and forth with somebody on my Facebook. They basically were saying, oh yeah, Trump's approval rating just is tanking, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. The only one that really matters, though, is not so much whether or not you approve of the president's job rating, but whether or not the country is on the right track. And that one is a 50%, meaning that at least half the country believes at this point that it is back onto the right track. And that's the one that really matters. When the American public decides that we're on the wrong track, and which, by the way, they have been, meaning the American public has been thinking that we've been on the right track or on the wrong track for quite some time, because that 50% is like the highest that it's been in quite some time. So, yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, once again, man, I gotta hand it to him. Boy, I hope he's making some serious money, or at least he's making enough money that this is just hilarious to him. So, Scott Jennings, who is considered the CNN's token voice of reason. was discussing with I don't know, some sort of it's the Tara Palmer show, Palmieri. Yeah, Tara Palmieri show, or Palmieri. I don't know. Anyway, however it's pronounced for her. But anyway, she was interviewing Scott, and Scott, well, let's just say that he certainly wasn't holding anything back really with this, but you know, they were discussing the point of the left, or the violence that's occurring. Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a listen here. Hopefully this plays for me, but because I played it earlier today, and usually when I do that, it doesn't work out for me very much. But here she is, Tara Palmieri, on her show with Scott Jennings.
The left has a problem with violence. It is in its heart right now.
I don't think it is only the left. I mean, you have literally seen people on both sides committing violence. I think that the problem is not the left. I think it is the extremes on both sides of the party. And that is what's happening. Like, they're the loudest voices, whether the leaders want them or not. And they're the ones who tend to be the most violent. I don't think that's fair to say it's only the left. I mean,
but why is it happening? Why do late night comedians go on TV and encourage or coddle or give lip service to this vandalism of what went on with Tesla dealerships and so on? Why are there so many prominent people who are like, well, I totally get why Luigi Mangione would murder a guy. Like, why? I don't understand.
Listen, I'm not for vandalism, but like,
it's more than that. They firebomb these things. Like it's
dangerous, but it's happening on both sides.
What person on the right is committing violence today?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, when you're in power, you don't tend to be the ones that are doing that. But
wait, wait. Hold up. Did she just say that when you're in power, you're not the ones that tend to do that? I'm not quite sure that's true, because we've seen the left. The Democrats were in power, and we still saw the left get a little violent. We saw Antifa and those kinds of folks still get a little violent. I mean, yes, it has escalated a lot in the last several years, especially during the Trump terms, because the leftists are using political violence as essentially as a tool to try and kowtow the rest of us. But anyway, I'm gonna let these two finish what they're saying and doing.
I think after they lost the election in 2020, there was a mob and a person died, and it was a riot at the Capitol. It was crazy.
It was a terrible day, and it should not have happened.
It was a horrible day, and it's not the only example. My calendar,
and it was 5.5 years ago.
Can we also talk about the fact that someone broke into Nancy Pelosi's house and violently beat up her husband?
Whoa! She is so off. The guy that broke into, oh my gosh, the guy that broke into Pelosi's house and beat up her husband, quote unquote, beat up her husband with a freaking hammer. The guy was a leftist. He was I don't know, one of the alphabet folks. I don't know what he was, but he was definitely one of the alphabet folks. I mean, and as far as the person dying on January 6th, which Tara is trying to refer to, she was shot by a Capitol police officer who probably shouldn't have been handed a weapon in the first place, because he had all kinds of issues with handling that with said weapon, leaving it in other places and things like that. So it wasn't that particular. I mean, they're sitting there, talking about the violence. Yeah, no. And by the way, too, don't forget, we still don't know 100% who actually did do the violence on January 6th. Because so far, nobody has been charged with any of that stuff. Nobody's been charged with any of that. They've all been charged with either obstruction, trespassing, or both. I don't know of anybody that's been charged with destruction of property or any of that stuff. Yeah, I think they kind of ignored a lot of that. Anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and let Scott finish.
You're saying that homeless drug addict is a conservative?
Well, I mean,
oh yeah, homeless drug addict. Yeah. Yep. Oh, and of course, I can't forget the other woman that died. By the way, that she was oh, what was her name? Rosalind, I think. Anyway, she was trampled or pressed by the pressured by the crowd, and she ended up having a medical emergency, and that medical emergency ended up becoming her death because the police didn't respond quick enough, I think, is what that was, if I recall the details on that one correctly. But anyway, yeah. She's yeah, both sides of the political divide are yeah. Anyway, that's just nuts. Anyway, Palmieri claimed that I think the problem is not the left. It is totally the left. It is 100% totally the left, because even, and here's why I say that, okay? You know, somebody would sit there and look at me, well, January 6th was all right-wingers. No. You need to understand. And this has got to be clear, 100% clear, okay? 100% clear on this. January 6th lasted a mere hours and did not cause that much in damage. That the damage that was caused on January 6th, it took maybe a week to repair. If that. If you want to compare the violence that took place during the Summer of Love, which was nationwide, okay, and I call it the Summer of Love, I'm being facetious because of our freaking, the Seattle mayor or whatever was calling it the Summer of Love, but let's be completely honest here. The amount of death, the amount of people who lost their businesses, lost all kinds of personal property on that day, got their heads bashed in and kicked and so on and so forth across the entire country. That compares to, they try to compare that to January 6th. January 6th was over in hours, cost maybe a few $100,000. We're talking like 6 million or more. I don't even know what the number is. I've kind of missed it. But the amount that was done during the Summer of Love and the BLM riots and all of these other things, I mean, there literally is no comparison. The left is clearly the more violent of the two groups, way more violent than the right. The right will get out and they'll do their parades and their speeches and, wave the flag and do all of that stuff. But there is literally no way, no matter what kind of metric you put forth, there is literally no way there is a comparison. Even if you just take the last, say, 7 to 8 years, okay, there is literally zero way that you can compare the leftist violence and destruction and the right. Anything on the right. I mean, this lady is just a complete and utter moron. So, yeah. And notice that she had to talk over him because Scott was going to once again bring honest, logical reason and, again, to the CNN audience in this case. Yeah, that's totally freaking ridiculous. And don't forget any of the terrorists that have been let in by the left. We can add all that in. We can add in the leftist school shootings that have occurred that were done by left-leaning and leftist people, people who identified with the left or identified with certain crowds of individuals that are left-leaning or left-connected groups. Yeah, there is literally no way you could not. I still can't figure out. I mean, unless you could just say, hey, let's find the group that wears the most red and use that. Well, okay, then yeah, MAGA is guilty of that. But there is not one single metric in the entire cascade of metrics that you could pull out of your rear end to compare the left versus the right, even again, in just a very short period of time, the amount of destruction and death and injury that the left has provided. So, yeah, there's just no way. All right. These people, they're just like, they're just nuts. All right. Sorry, had to wet my whistle there. Okay. So, the Supreme Court issued a series of opinions today. Now, I didn't even realize that they were issuing opinions. I haven't really been keeping track of when they are going to issue opinions. But all of a sudden, they just started. I saw a article headline, breaking news, SCOTUS issues an opinion. And I went over to the SCOTUS blog website, and sure enough, they issued a series of opinions with several cases that they've been dealing with for all this time. And interestingly enough, the opinions that they put out actually uphold rights and freedom. That's right. Now, the first one we discussed, I think it was last week, we discussed this, where Mexico was attempting to sue the gun manufacturers for the weapons that are flowing into Mexico and finding their way into the hands of the cartels. And so Mexico was attempting to sue the gun manufacturers for this. And SCOTUS basically, and if you recall, I mentioned on this program that SCOTUS should tell them to go pound sand. Well, that is exactly what they did. And it wasn't just the conservatives along with the moderates, or what are considered the moderates on the court. It was everybody. In a 9-0 decision, the government of Mexico cannot hold gun manufacturers accountable for criminal activity. That's a win, folks. I mean, that is an incredible win. I mean, I would have seen, I kind of foresaw maybe like a 7-2 or possibly a 6-3 decision, potentially. I mean, because we all know that like Ketanji Brown Jackson and Kagan and Sotomayor, you know, they want to get those gun manufacturers. They want to get the guns off the streets. They definitely are anti-gun. But yeah, they basically every single one of them said, "Yep, you guys are done. You can't even do it." And so the order that came out said the government of Mexico sued 7 gun manufacturers alleging that the companies aided and abetted unlawful gun sales that routed firearms to Mexican drug cartels. Mexico focuses on the production of what they call military-style assault weapons, which, again, I don't know where you can't, I mean, assault weapons are banned. They've been banned for years, decades by now. But anyway, it said, but these products are widely legal and purchased by ordinary consumers. Manufacturers cannot be charged with assisting criminal acts simply because Mexican cartel members also prefer these guns. The same applies to firearms with Spanish language names or graphics alluding to Mexican history. While they may be coveted by the cartels, they also may appeal to millions of law-abiding Hispanic Americans. Even the failure to make guns with non-defaceable serial numbers cannot show that manufacturers have joined both mind and hand, and that's a quote from the original, from the plaintiff's side that we're trying to bring this up, with lawbreakers in the manner required for aiding and abetting. So, yeah, there you go. There you go. And it continued. It says, because Mexico's complaint does not plausibly allege that the defendant gun manufacturers aided and abetted gun dealers' unlawful sales of firearms to Mexican traffickers, PLCAA, which is the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, bars the lawsuit. Congress enacted the PLCAA to halt lawsuits attempting to make gun manufacturers pay for harms resulting from the criminal or unlawful misuse of firearms. Mexico's suit closely resembles those lawsuits. The court doubts Congress intended to draft such a capricious way out of the PLCAA, and in fact, it did not. So there you go. I mean, again, this is just like, suing Ford or any other car manufacturer because some idiot decided to get behind the wheel when they were drunk and kill somebody. I mean, how is the car manufacturer going to be held liable for a misuse of its product? Or how would Tide, because you remember the whole Tide Pods thing? The Tide Pods challenge? Yeah, we're going to get on Tide Pods. We're going to go and we're going to eat Tide Pods and see if we survive. You can't sue Tide for that. Tide made Tide Pods to clean clothes. That's it. That's it. So, yeah, like Nana points out, Nana JJS points out, hey, let's sue manufacturers of spoons for making folks fat. Yeah. Forks, knives, plates. Let's just take it all the way to sue the stove manufacturers too. Yeah. Oh, these people, I'm telling you. So, yeah. All right. Well, that was one. Then we ended up getting a second one. Now, this one is really surprising. This one's really surprising. I mean, you thought the gun one was surprising? This one's even more surprising. So here's the case. The case itself is called Ames versus Ohio Department of Youth Services. And what happened was there was a young woman, Marlene Ames, says that she was denied a promotion and then demoted because of her sexual identity. Now, before you jump on me, okay, with the whole sexual identity point, it's because she was heterosexual, not homosexual, not part of the LGBTQIA plus minus divided by sign, ampersand, whatever, parentheses. No, she was a heterosexual woman. Now, she was hired in 2004 as an executive secretary at the Ohio Department of Youth Services, where she worked for 10 years before getting a promotion to program administrator. When Ames applied for the new position in 2019, despite receiving positive performance evaluations from her gay supervisor, she was denied the job and was soon demoted to a position paying half the hourly rate of her previous secretarial position. Both the new positions that she had applied for and the program administrator position she was demoted from were then filled by gay employees. Okay? Yeah. So she took this to the Supreme Court, and she took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and in another unanimous decision, the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday upheld her claims. So I guess if you are part of the, part of the majority, vast majority, then yes, you actually have rights to be kept from being discriminated against as well. So, hey, I'm a white male of over the age of 40 and a Christian. I have rights too. I have protections as well. Yeah. So, anyway, and the other surprise to all of this is Ketanji Brown Jackson is the one that actually delivered the opinion. She's the one that wrote the opinion, and the other justices signed on to it. Unanimous. 9-0. So, hey, all you leftist lunatic morons who are sitting there saying that just because your skin color is white, just because you happen to be Christian, just because you happen to be heterosexual, guess what? You guys can't discriminate against us. It's against the law. And the Supreme Court just stated that. So shut your pie holes and accept the fact that we are here. Okay? All right. Anyway. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one is another one that is kind of interesting, and this one's actually, I mean, not so much a religious victory, but there was a Catholic Charities group, and they went up against the Wisconsin Labor and Industry Review Commission. So the Catholic Charities Bureau is a nonprofit organization that functions as an arm of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Superior, Wisconsin. Okay? And what happened here was that the Bureau oversees several other entities that render charitable services to communities across the state. Now, Wisconsin law excuses religious organizations that are, quote, operated, supervised, controlled, or principally supported by a church or convention or association of churches from paying state unemployment tax. The Wisconsin case, or the Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Labor and Industry Review Commission, wanted to rescind that ability. And the Supreme Court today ruled again, unanimously, that the state of Wisconsin Labor and Industry Review Commission violated the First Amendment by not granting the Catholic charity an exemption from paying that employment tax. 9-0 was the decision. And this one was written by Sonia Sotomayor. Yes, she wrote this. So, in the opinion, she wrote, the First Amendment mandates government neutrality between religions and subjects any state-sponsored denominational preference to strict scrutiny. The Wisconsin Supreme Court application of the state statute imposed a denominational preference by differentiating between religions based on theological lines. Because the law's application does not survive strict scrutiny, it cannot stand. Now, what they mean by strict scrutiny, okay, what they mean by strict scrutiny is the highest level of review used by the courts. So under it, the government has to actually show that a law is narrowly tailored to advance a compelling governmental interest, and that the law is the least restrictive way in order to serve that interest. And Sotomayor wrote that Wisconsin is not the only jurisdiction that exempts religious organizations from paying taxes to cover unemployment compensation programs. Since Congress in 1970 approved the Federal Unemployment Tax Act, which contains language similar to what was found in Wisconsin law, more than 40 states have adopted similarly worded tax exemptions. The Supreme Court of Wisconsin held in a 4-3 decision in March that Catholic Charities and its 4 related organizations that serve the developmentally disabled are not operated primarily for religious purposes, so they fail to meet the requirements for a tax exemption. Now, that court held that the activities of Catholic Charities do not qualify as typical religious activities because, according to them, the organization does not attempt to imbue program participants with the Catholic faith, and because of the help it provides to those with mental and developmental disabilities, could be carried out by secular organizations. And yeah, the Supreme Court said, nope, yeah, you're done. So, yeah. So there you go. The Supreme Court has upheld 3 key provisions of our Constitution. And so, yeah. Now, does this mean that the Supreme Court has all of a sudden turned conservative or constitutionalist? No, absolutely not. But these were pretty freaking obvious answers. I mean, these are freaking obvious answers here. So, anyway. Oh, hey, we got a new person in the chat over on Facebook, although new person here. But Lee Taylor says, I totally forgot about this guy after Mark K quit promoting him. Yeah, I know. Mark kind of just fell off the wagon. Don't ask me why. But anyway, welcome. Welcome, Lee. Appreciate it. And hey, if you're willing to do so, you could be a de facto promoter of me. So, like Barb says, we need to promote him more. Yes, absolutely. And now everybody is like saying hi over on Rumble. So there you go. Well, thank you for coming and giving it a shot, giving it another shot, because it sounds like you tried at one point or watched at one point. So welcome back. All right. So, I want to take a quick moment to kind of talk about oh yeah, you're saying, hey, Lee, and hi, Barb. So, there you go. So one of the things that I want to talk to you about really quickly here is this whole dust up between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And, yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm kind of wondering if maybe there's something going on in the background that maybe these two sort of agreed to, or I mean, maybe it is what you see on its face, which is, Elon and Donald Trump taking pot shots at one another. So apparently, Elon's not happy with the big, beautiful bill. He's not making that any kind of, bones about his thoughts with regards to all of this. But the thing about it is I'm wondering if this is sort of a joke between them because of a couple of things. First of all, and this is where my thought process is kind of heading toward, although I don't have any other evidence to the contrary or to the affirmation of this thought process. But it seems kind of interesting that this happened shortly after Elon was done with his contractual obligation and left, number one. Number two is that it's bringing up all kinds of things that the left has been trying to use against Trump and Elon for quite some time. Things like, for an example, Trump says that, well, first of all, Elon said that if it wasn't for him, Trump wouldn't be in office. So there's your first volley that came across. Now, keep in mind, that's what the left is all saying, has been saying about Elon, because they keep mentioning the fact that Elon bought Trump his presidency. So that's been a long-standing point of the left. Not exactly sure that I'm fairly certain that Elon did not miss that. Then you have Trump firing back saying, well, Elon, was only hanging around until I pulled, or was only being nice to me until I pulled all of the EV special things that's there. And, that again is another point of the left that has been running around, where they keep talking about how, Trump made special exceptions for Elon or whatever. It's actually Biden who made them. But anyway, there's that. Then you have the volley back from Trump saying that, I don't know, something else about Elon not getting, or his special, contracts and things like that, that if he removed all of those, meaning Trump, if Trump removed all of those, that Elon would just, all of a sudden lose a whole bunch of money or whatever. And then you have Elon firing back. Now, this one's a little rough, but again, it's another talking point from the left. Elon goes back and says, well, Trump's on the Epstein list. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, keep in mind, my stance has basically been, if Trump were actually on the Epstein list would have been published a long time ago. And it would have been, the left would have been rubbing the nose of everybody else in it, saying, see, Trump's on it, Trump's on it, Trump's on it. So, the absence of the Epstein list, especially during the Democrats' administration, is sort of a de facto. I mean, I can't prove a negative, but it's sort of a de facto thought process that, yeah, Trump is not on it, because think of how many swipes they've made at Trump over the course of the last, 8 years or more. So yeah, I don't know if these two are just having fun or whatever, but it seems to be a very public kind of back and forth, and it just, I have this sneaking suspicion that it's planned, that it was somebody came up with some sort of an idea and made it planned. But as Nana of JJS points out over on Rumble, she says, I'm going to pull a Dan Bongino on the Trump-Musk dust-up. Hold, and let's see what happens over the next 72 hours. I agree. But it's the de jour thing of today, but anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I actually think they again, I'm have a sneaking suspicion that this is something that they might have concocted just because they want to play with the left. So yeah. But anyway, and Trump. There was posts on Trump talking about, and this, Picaric points this out. True Social Trump account had a post that it was over the EV change of mandate. Again, these are all things that the left has been talking about to try and break these two up. So, I don't know. I at this point, I'm not really too sure that that this isn't something that is just done just to get the left, get it going, as far as that goes. So, all right. So, shifting gears here, and Bonnie points this out because Trump and Elon are the best at trolling. Well, Trump is. Shoot, I got into a little bit into it with a Canadian gentleman on Facebook. He was saying, "Oh my God, I'm so worried. My country is going to become the 51st state. Trump's going to come in and take us and blah blah blah." And I'm like, dude, seriously, you're totally naive if you think that was actually real. seriously, anyway, the left seems to want to take these guys at face value, and I honestly think that they're both playing. I think they're playing with the people. But that being said, Elon does have some good points about the big beautiful bill. I mean, it adds money to the deficit, although some people are saying no, it's actually going to, reduce the deficit. It's going to take stuff away from the deficit. I mean, and then you have the Congressional Budget Office talking about it, and you have all these other think tanks around that are all talking about it. I mean, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just kind of like shaking my head. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Let them do what they're going to do. If they're really at each other's throats, okay, fine. If they're not, just okay, fine. Whatever. I think it's, I think it might have, it just seems a little too concocted to me. It just seems a little too concocted to me. But anyway. All right. Moving on to international news. Let's step over to the international news desk. There are some takeaways that we need to take a look at in terms of after Ukraine's drone attack on Russia. And this actually came from the Epoch Times, but they all have good points here. So first of all, don't forget Ukraine's surprise June 1st drone attack on a Russia's strategic bomber fleet has crippled a significant portion of this its nuclear strike capability, meaning Russia's. And it also, at the same time, that was also an escalation in the war. So that being said, Trump, who talked to Putin the other day for about an hour and a half, and came away with the idea that it was a good conversation, but that there is no immediate peace. There is no immediate peace that's going to come about based on this. And that's because of the fact that Russia is vowing to respond to Ukraine. And Ukraine, by the way, is gearing up for a response for this. And yeah. And now all this is doing is this is actually, increase the temperature. Somebody turned up the temperature on the stove. And so now this is going to be, risk levels are going to start going up and so on and so forth. Ukraine is preparing for a response from Russia. Russia vows it's going to do it. And now there is one thing, though, that is really good about this. You remember what I said with regards to China's bases, China buying land next to our bases? What do you think would happen if China decided to launch that same type of strike against us here in America? And so this attack by Ukraine into Russia should be a wake-up call for just about every other country on this planet to try and come up with a way to protect themselves from just that type of an attack. See, this is what is known as a 0-day, in my world anyway, this is what is known as a 0-day vulnerability, which essentially means that you have a vulnerability that you have no idea that you have until it's exploited. And that's considered the 0-day. And once it's exploited, you're now on the reactionary side rather than the proactionary side, and you're now trying to scramble to figure out how you can block this. And so in particular here is the fact that we need to figure out how to protect ourselves against drones. Now, you would think that the United States government would have been examining this, considering all the quote-unquote drone strike or drone sightings that were going on near military bases over on the East Coast over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just, again, this is something that we need to seriously take a look at in terms of what's going on. And as far as, again, well, like I was pointing out, with the issue of the issue of these drones and everything else that are running around. We've got to start moving ourselves into what would be considered, I guess, the 21st century, and protecting ourselves against these kinds of attacks, against these kinds of things. We've got to be a little bit more on our game, and allowing one of our primary adversaries to purchase land right next to our military bases is probably not the smartest move for us to do. So, last little piece here that I saw. This is in CNBC. So you know how the attacks from Trump on the universities has centered a lot on Harvard University. Yes, I'm from Harvard. Well, now Columbia University is in hot water too. The U.S. Department of Education has stated that Columbia University has failed to meet the standards for accreditation because, quote, it is in violation of federal anti-discrimination laws. Now, this is the exact argument that the Trump administration has used against Harvard. So now we're looking at Columbia. Now, the Department of Education, cites the Ivy League school's alleged toleration of harassment of Jewish students after the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel by the militant group Hamas and other Palestinian-type groups. I'm going to throw those in there. The Education Department's Office for Civil Rights notified the Middle States Commission on Higher Education that an accrediting institution that the private New York University belongs to of the alleged violation. So now we're starting, the Trump administration has done what they needed to do toward Harvard, at least for the time being, until the Harvard law people get in. And now he's setting his sights, or the administration is setting their sights on the next Ivy League, which is Columbia University. Now, you'll notice that Columbia and Harvard have both been hotbeds for the Palestinian folks, rallying and so on and so forth. Both of these colleges have been in the news quite a bit over these kinds of things. And so now, the Trump administration is seriously taking a look at them because of their violations of the Civil Rights Act, which the Supreme Court just upheld for a major group, meaning heterosexuals, getting denied just because of their sexual orientation. So I think the tide's kind of turning a little bit here, folks, meaning that the tide against Americans, true Americans, typical Americans, is starting to shift a little. You maybe feel it in the wind. All right, everybody, that is it for me for this evening. Oh, wait, I have one more thing before I take off. One more thing. I cannot cross Bonnie. I cannot cross Bonnie. So, 3 Chevy. Here you go. It was 3 Chevy's birthday yesterday, and I biffed it. And so there you go. And I forgot to sing him a happy birthday, so here we go. 3 Chevy's another longtime Whiskey Warrior P1. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, 3 Chevy. Happy birthday to you. There you go. All right, folks, that is it. I heard he had a fantastic birthday, so there you go. Anyway, all right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free, and once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, or if you really want to, thumbs down across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.